This is the Tanix TX5 streaming box. So this is just a regular Android TV streaming box. So why would I talk about this streaming box when I normally talk about boxes that are fully loaded? In other words, ones with proprietary apps, and you can get a lot of VOD and movies and all of that for just the cost of the box. So what is so special about this box? Well, I'm going to compare it with the Onn box because this is one of the most hottest selling streaming boxes from Walmart. They sell thousands upon thousands of these Onn boxes. But this one is actually cheaper than this one, and it actually outperforms it. Yeah. So if you'd like to learn more about the Tanix TX5 and why I would recommend it over the Onn box for several reasons, well, keep watching because you're watching Blue Collar Guy. Okay, we're back. So today we're talking about the Tanix TX5 streaming box. Now, when I got the Tanix TX5, it came in a very generic box. So this is the box it came in, and it doesn't really say too much other than Smart Your Life HDMI. There's nothing about Tanix written on it. And on the back of the box, it has a bunch of check marks that check off which model this one has. So they also have ones that go all the way up to the TX9. Now I don't have one of those to compare it with, but they also have other specs on here of how much RAM it has, how much ROM it has, and what level of Wi-Fi it has. Now, I have a feeling that they sent me this model because it's one of their more popular models, and it's also very competitively priced when you're looking at things like the Onn box. And I would tend to agree with that. So this particular box runs on Android 14, which is pretty good. I also ran the 3D Mark test on it, and it scored really high. It actually scored higher than some of the more expensive streaming boxes that I've done before. And a lot of that has to do with things like how the operating system was put inside the box. In other words, how efficient is the operating system and how well it runs on the hardware inside the box, because the hardware that's inside the box is very comparable to the other streaming boxes that I have done reviews on. But when you're dealing with things like your launch settings and things of that nature, you can actually make them more efficient so that it's less taxing on the CPU, the GPU, that sort of thing. So this box does have a CPU and a GPU, but they're not like your gaming laptop or anything like that. In other words, you're not going to use this for gaming. But on the other hand, you would definitely not use the Onn box for gaming either. So these two streaming boxes are very similar in a lot of ways. So we're going to go to the downward shot, and then I'm going to compare the specs on each one to see what you get for your money, because I think that I would rather get the Tanix TX5 over the Onn box any day of the week. So let's go to the shot and take a look. Okay, so you'll have to forgive the wires because I've got both of them hooked up at the same time through a special multiplexer, and that way we can go back and forth because they're both running like a Google interface. So when you boot them up, they have like a Google TV type of setup on them. And I'm just going to back this up a little bit here, and we're going to focus on there, make sure we're in focus. Very good. Okay, so this one comes with this type of a box, very generic box, but if you look at it, it says right here, this one's got 4 gigabytes of RAM. Now, some of their models have DDR4 RAM, which is really good. I think this one has the DDR3 model, but it still scored very well when I tested it on the 3D Mark. And I will show you the testing that I did on it. Now, this one here isn't going to score that high at all, and I'm going to basically show you because it's written right on the box. So this one here also has 32 gigabytes of ROM, and it's got 2.4G, 5G, and Bluetooth. So it's got very good specs for I think it's about a $50 or $60 streaming box. I paid $55 for this one Canadian, so I understand that if you're in the United States you can get them for like $20, but you could probably get this one cheaper too. So they're roughly the same price Canadian. Now, when you look at the Onn box, it also tells you what the specs are on it. So it's got a A35 Cortex processor. It's also got a G31 MP2. That's the GPU on it. And the other thing too is it's got 2.4 gigahertz, 5 gigahertz Wi-Fi. And there is no Bluetooth on here at all. I don't see any settings for Bluetooth, so I don't see anything on here for Bluetooth. So, and it does come with your HDMI cable, your AAA batteries. This one here didn't come with any batteries, so just to let you know, you'll have to get your own AAA batteries, but that's minor. This one's got Dolby Audio. And I do believe it has Dolby Vision. Now, you're not going to get Dolby Vision on something like this. However, for what I'm going to show you what this box can do, you're going to say, well, I really like this one over this one. So, but before we go any further, let's just take a look at the inputs and outputs. So the Onn box is very basic. So you got an HDMI, you got a reset button, and you've got a micro USB, yes I know, micro USB for your power supply. But this one has, I'm just going to cover up the serial number, and this is what it runs on. So very small and compact. And this one here, now this one looks more like a nicer class streaming box. Now this one does have an optical output, so you can hook this directly into a streaming bar. It's also got an Ethernet jack, HDMI, there's your power, and it's even got an AV input, so you can use something like this if you want to hook it up to an older TV. So it's got more in the way of inputs. Over here, you've also got two USB 2.0 inputs, and you've also got an SD card input. Now, this one's got the SD card in there because I was testing it. I loaded some testing software because I wanted to see what the performance of the GPU and the CPU was. On the front, there's actually a clock that displays. Some people don't like that, but some people do. So I guess it's all whatever you really like. Now, the other thing is that there's not anything on this side. So on this side, it's just got some ventilation, and on the bottom, it's got lots more ventilation. You can actually see the board underneath it. So it's stuffed full of goodness. It's got lots of things in there. So for the same amount of money, just looking at the inputs alone tells you that this is a better value. Just looking at the inputs alone tells you that you're going to get more for your money with this one than you are with this one. Now, I'm just going to go back to me for a quick sec. So I know a lot of people right now are screaming at their screen saying, hey, the Onn has a model called the Pro version, and it's got those inputs. But I do want to let you know something, and this part is going to say, really? Because this one outperforms that one when it comes to CPU and GPU. So if you were to test that one with the same 3D Mark, this one scores higher than that one. So I don't know why the Pro model doesn't score higher than this one. It should, but it doesn't. So that means that this one is actually the fairer comparison when I'm comparing these two boxes, not the Pro version. Now, the other reason why I would not compare the other model of the Onn box with this box is because it's $100 Canadian. Yes, it is double the cost of this. So if you want the Onn version with the inputs on the back, you're going to pay double than the TX5, which makes this even a bigger value for the money. Okay, so now let's take a look at the remote controls. So this is the Tanix TX5 remote, and this is the Onn box remote. Yeah, they look very similar, but this one feels a lot cheaper in the hand than this one. This one actually feels like a really premium remote. It's got a nice feel on the rubber here. This one's got some rubber here too, but it's more plasticky, and I want you to listen. It's got this, I'm just going to hold it up to my microphone. Now listen to this one. That was the Onn box. Okay. Oh, hang on a second here. There. So now we're going to look at this one. Listen. And it's actually triggering my camera. So I'm gonna, yeah, it's messing with the focus of my camera. It must be on the same frequency. Go figure, eh? There we go. So I'm just gonna hold over the, yeah, there we go. So just gonna give you the comparison again. Can you tell the difference right there? Oh, we're losing focus again. This is a Bluetooth remote, and so is this, because you don't have to have them pointed directly at the box. So it's got infrared, but it's also got Bluetooth. And I'm just going to double check that, but I'm pretty sure this is Bluetooth, this is Bluetooth, and they're very comparable that way. The other thing I'd like to demonstrate on these remotes is that if you look on this one, there is no mouse mode. Now, mouse mode is very useful when you're dealing with third-party apps. Like, so if you're side-loading boxes and things like that, and a lot of people that buy the Onn box, they side-load it. They don't just leave it the way it is. Now, some people can watch Tubi on it and things like that. And on YouTube here, so I'll just go back to me really quickly. So for this demonstration, I'm going to stick with things like Tubi and those type of platforms. But if you look at the QR code here, and I'm going to give you a QR code, it's going to take you to another platform in which I really push these things to their limit when it comes to the viewing experience. So if you want to see that, there's the QR code, and I suggest that you really check that out, because I don't mess around with these boxes. I know what you're going to be doing with them, and I do the same thing with them to let you know how they perform under those conditions. So, and I will be talking about that as well. Okay, so the volume on this one is down here, and the volume on this one is over here, and then you've got channel up, channel down. You don't have any of that here. I don't know why they even have that. I've never used that on the Onn box. I use the home button and I use the back button. There's the home button, the back button, the mouse button, and they both have the microphone input, and that comes in handy when you're using it on Google. Now this one has a settings button and this one does not, but that's the only advantage of this one over this one. You've got one YouTube button, one Netflix button, but like I said before, most people that are going to get these boxes aren't going to be messing with any of those anyway. They're just going to be using it for, well, what I'm going to talk about on the other platforms. So we'll get into that over there. So this is the difference between the remote controls. This one feels a lot nicer. I will say that. Like the plastic on here, the way the buttons are, I really like this one. This one here, it feels a lot more plasticky. No, it's not horrible, it's not bad, but I'm considering that these are the same cost. So when I looked it up, I found that these were the same price as they were on Amazon. So, and I just think that, you know, if you're going to be paying the same money, you're going to want more features. I need to remain policy safe, so I can't show you things like third-party apps or anything like that when I'm talking about these boxes. Now, because these boxes are Android boxes, they're not fully loaded boxes, I can show you the home screens on these boxes. Now, the difference between what version of Google that they have, and this is also critical, is that this one is using an AOSP version of Android, and This one is a Google certified version. Okay, so whenever you get a Google certified Android box, you're going to get a very secure platform. In other words, it's going to have a lot of security features built into it. So if you're going to be using one of these with your Netflix, with your YouTube, if you're going to be using it as a trusted device, in other words, if you're going to be putting all of your passwords and inputting them through the box, then you want to leave it in that version. You don't want to mess around with all of your safety protocols and things like that. So if you're the type of person that wants to buy one of these, you subscribe to Netflix, and you just want to use it for your subscriptions, then you're going to probably get something like this, and you're going to just leave it alone. You're not going to mess with it. You're going to pay your monthly subscriptions, and you're going to go from there. But the difference is that this box is not a Google certified version, which means it doesn't have the same level of those safety protocols that a Google certified box would have. So it does have the Google Play and Protect feature. So if you're downloading an app and the app is not good, it'll let you know. So it has that. But it doesn't have the other babysitting features that the other one has. But for what most people buy these boxes for, you don't want that. Because let's say you have this box here and you put a third-party app on there and you've disabled all of the safety protocols because you're like, no, I want to use this box for my purposes. I want full control over this box, and I want to watch this app and that app, and yeah, they might be in that gray area, but this is what I want to do. Well, if this one doesn't update, it can actually change some of your settings. It can even delete some of those apps. And I've actually had that happen to me. So I do have a Google TV. It's got Sony TV. It's got Google operating systems built right into it. I put on an app on the TV, and one day I turn on my TV and the app is gone. I can't find it no longer in the Play Store because Google determined that this app is not the kind of thing they want on their platform. Now, I was not happy about this because I really liked that app. I thought it was kind of cool. I'm not going to tell you what it is because I can't really say on YouTube. It did some things that I really enjoyed. It had some TV shows and things like that that I really enjoyed because they were from around the world. One day it just wasn't there. I couldn't find it again. It deleted it. I had no reference of it. So I was kind of upset about this, to say the least, because I own that TV. It is my decision what I want to put on it and what I don't want to put on it. And I don't need something to tell me, hey, I don't want you to have this and it's gone. In other words, I don't want a policeman in my TV removing this and removing that. Now, some people will want this feature, but some people don't. And I just happen to be one of the people that wants to make my own decisions with my own mind. So that is the difference between a Google certified box and one that is not, because a non-Google certified box would not have removed that because it doesn't have that extra level of babysitting or those extra levels of protection where it would deem something that is harmful to me or not harmful to me. I didn't want that, but I had no choice whenever you're dealing with something like this. Now, even if you take off the safety protocol, so you go into the developer options and you remove those safety protocols, you do not have the ability to stop it from doing updates. It's going to update. As a matter of fact, it could update and take away some of those apps, and there's nothing you can do about it because this is a Google certified box and they want that level of control over those devices. That is why a lot of Android streaming boxes that you see on Amazon are non-Google certified. They are AOSP boxes. Now, if you're not too sure, If your box is an AOSP box or a Google certified box, you can just go into the settings, you can go into where it says about, and it will tell you if the box is certified or not. It actually tells you right on the TV. So I've rambled on enough about the difference between a Google certified box and a non-Google certified box. And I know that some people are saying, I already knew this, but you'd be surprised how many people don't know this information. So that's why I thought I would share it once again today. Let's get these things up and running and show you what they do. And I want to show you what the home screens look like because they're kind of similar. There we go. Okay, so it takes a little while to boot up, I've noticed, when it's warming up because it's going through all of its updates and things like that. So it's got a cool boot up screen to it. Now, keep in mind I had this completely unplugged, and that may affect how long it takes to boot up too. So this is what the home screen looks like. And I don't have to blur anything out because this is just a regular Android box. There's nothing fishy. There's nothing third party going on with this box. This is, you get it and you can just put in your normal stuff, and that's how it works. Now I'm going to go into the settings because I want to just make sure that we're running a Bluetooth remote control. Oh, hang on a second here. I hit the wrong thing. And let's see. Just going to take me off the screen there. There we go, Bluetooth. I knew I would find it, and we are connected. So I just wanted to verify that this was a Bluetooth remote control, and we are connected. So let's go back to the home screen, and it's easy enough. And I'm just going to, let me just turn. So I have this screen here so that you can see, and I'm just going to zoom in. This way we can. There we go. There. Okay, so this is the remote control in action. So you can see what my fingers are doing, and you can also see what it's doing. So I'm going to say open Tubi. And it's translated it. And now it is looking for Tubi, and it opens the application, and that is kind of good. So because Tubi is not a third-party app, we can go through here. We've got, you know, Three's Company, and we can start on episode 1 here. And we're just going to show how fast things load. And of course, we're going to have TV commercials because this is Tubi. So if you don't like that, don't subscribe to Tubi. And Tubi's free, by the way. So if you want to play things safe and you don't like to take chances, then Tubi might be the way for you to go. So I'm just going to put myself over here. So we're going to go out of here, and I'm just going to show you the home screen here. Now this one has mouse mode. So unlike this one, I can click on mouse mode at any time, and you're going to see a little mouse pop on the screen. So it's not very highlighted, but you can see it right there in this one here. And I'm going to click on this. And we can see that now it's switching over to YouTube, and now it's playing a commercial. And I still got the mouse mode on. And if I want the mouse mode to go away, you just click it again, like so, and it will disappear. So now I'm using the toggler, so I can go pause, play. And then I can skip that commercial, of course. And I've got it on there. Daily dose of internet, of course. And then I'm going to click out of there, go back to the home screen because we don't want to get any copyright stuff. So even though we're using what I refer to as fair use, we can only stay on each channel for a little bit of time here. So, and of course we've got Jurassic Park and other things. So, and if you want to watch movies on there, you're going to have to get a subscription. Now, I've also installed 3D Mark on here. And I'm going to show you. So under wildlife, I got over 204, which beats some of the other boxes, which scored about 192. Now, if I go into Slingshot and I have to put on mouse mode, so you got to go mouse mode, and then you're going to see this, and I believe it was over 500. So we're going to do another test just to make sure. And it scored really well. This box scored really, really well for what it is. No, we're not dealing with a gaming computer here. We're dealing with a $50 streaming box. So for $50, you're getting pretty good performance. And I'm going to show you that right now. So we're going to fast forward through this part. So you're going to hear me talk like a chipmunk because I don't want you to have to go through all of this, but $579. Just going to take myself off. We're at normal speed again. $579. Yeah. That's pretty good for a $50 box, considering that a lot of more expensive boxes are only scoring 426. So, very impressive. Okay, so let's just go back to me. Okay, and there, off in the corner. So that's a pretty impressive score, comparing that one to boxes that cost $300, $400, $500, $600. Yeah. So, and now as far as the Onn box is concerned, I do not have an SD card input on that box, but I know other people that have done it. There's a way you can do it by loading it in wirelessly, but this box does not score very well at all. And the reason why is it's got 2 gigabytes of RAM. Some of the tests you can't even do on it because it requires that you have a minimum of 4 gigs of RAM. So I can't even test the Onn box under certain situations because those conditions require 4 gigs of RAM, and it just doesn't meet the requirements. So that alone should tell you that the Tanix is a much better bang for your buck. It's got 2 extra gigs of RAM, and that makes a big difference. When you're streaming things like movies, you're going to have less screen tearing, less lag, less jitter, a lot of less of everything. So, but let's go back to the home screen because I want to show you them side by side. So this is the home screen. All right, so the home screen looks like any other Google Android box. It really does. Now, if you've probably seen a few other apps on there that you didn't recognize, I will be showing those on the other platforms. So let me just put myself in the corner here. So on some of those other apps, I'm going to demonstrate those at the other platform because I just can't demonstrate them here. I have to remain 100% policy safe for YouTube. I'm just happy that I don't have to blur any of this out. So normally I have to blur everything, but in this particular case, because it is a regular Android box, I don't have to do that. So let's switch over to the Onn box. I'm just going to put myself there. So now we're going to switch over to the Onn box, and I'm going to show you the difference in user interface on that, just so that you know we're not doing any funny business on there. So there we go. So that was just a screensaver. So that's the other thing too, is the other one has screensavers, and you may or may not want those, but it has those. And we've also got, let me just go up to the so if you look at the difference, they're very similar. You know, like if you were to walk by one TV and another, you'd be like, well, they look like they're the same thing, you know. But this one here, of course, I've got some third-party apps on here. I've also installed a VPN on this one as well. But we're not going to talk about that here. We're going to talk about that on the other platform. Again, QR code in the corner. And then we can show you what this one here does. But just so that you can get a demonstration on Tubi here, I'm just gonna, I have to take this one here off. Okay, so we'll put on Tubi just because it's allowed. Let's get Tubi on there. And there was a little bit of hesitation from the time that I activated it, which was kind of interesting. So, and that's probably has to do with the 2 gigs of RAM. And here's a movie that's been quite popular on Tubi. And when I click it, there's a little bit of a delay. Not much, but a little bit. It could be the Tubi itself, but here we go with another commercial. And hopefully we'll be able to skip it soon enough. And there we go. Okay, the movie started. Okay, so you can fast forward, obviously, and we still got some control in that respect. So, not horrible, you know, everything. They're both very similar in the way they're going to respond. Most people would have a hard time telling the difference between the response of this one versus the other one. But let's go back to the home screen, and I want to go into the settings, because this is where you find out more information. So I'm just going to take my, let me see, I have to take myself off. Remote controls and accessories, and I have the Onn remote. This is a Bluetooth remote, and I just wanted to show you that it's also a Bluetooth remote. And we're going to go into System and About, and it's Android TV. So this has got Android 12 on it. I'll put myself in the corner. So this has got Android 12 on it, and the Tanix box has Android 14 on it. Yeah, so that's a difference too, and I wanted to check that out. And oh yeah, that was the other thing too I wanted to see, is kernel version, Netflix information, and legal information, factory reset, Onn, and this is a Google certified box, but I have got a security patch level here that they've done. And what will it do? We got system update, checking for updates. Okay, we're up to date. So it's up to date. So if you wanted to know, it is Android 12. Because I just did a check. So for those people that are saying, oh, you didn't do an update, well, there you go. Storage, 5.1 gigs. That's what we got for total storage space. 5.1 gigs. And this is what we have available, 2.6 gigs. So not a lot, considering the other one's got 32 gigabytes. Yeah. So huge difference there as well. Okay, so that is the system settings. You got things like the home screen. You can't tell any of those things, you know, storage and and you know how much RAM you have. You really have to dive into the settings on that. But you know, and I find the remote very clicky. Like you can really hear it compared to the other one. The other one's got more of a muted click, and I'd much prefer that. So as I said before in the disclaimer that this video is not sponsored, they did send me out the TX5 for the purposes of review and testing. However, they have no control over what I say, and when I review these boxes, I always give an honest opinion on what the boxes can do and what they can't do, and if I genuinely like them. To be clear, before I even accepted this box, I did some research on it to see if it was something that I'd be interested in talking about. A lot of people just want to know, well, what's so special about this streaming box? Because there's only 1 million of them out there. As a matter of fact, there is a very saturated streaming box market, and it's very competitive. But because it's so competitive, that's what makes this box a better value than the Onn box. If there wasn't a lot of competition out there, they would all be $100, $150, $200. They'd all be very expensive. And the only ones that are charging more money are the ones with those proprietary apps. So that's it for this video. I would really like to thank Tanix for sending me out the TX5. It is a very good budget-friendly box, and that's what my channel is all about, getting a good bang for your buck. And when I can see something that is basically the same price, if not cheaper than the Onn box, and it gives you more features, more inputs, more pretty much everything, then how could I not recommend something like this? So if you'd like to see me push this box to its limits along with the Onn box and compare it in that respect, well, here's that QR code again. And that's it for this video. So take care, be safe at work, and I will see you at the next video because I got a lot more videos to come. Bye.